Chris Wallace here, advisor to men. In this edition of ATM News, we're going to talk about shadows and broken dolls. Defender. Every man meets himself through the women he accepts into his life. He may think he's acquiescing to her willingly, but it is his shadow which exceeds. Maybe you've heard me say, she was sent to you by the universe to help you see these parts of yourself. Sometimes that works. Context is everything. The men who come to me often speak of the same pattern. They meet a woman with bright eyes and maybe a tremor in her voice, and she's beautiful, if not slightly broken. Her pain may even feel familiar, almost magnetic. Soon he may see himself as healer, protector, or savior. The truth is, he's trying to rescue parts of himself that were abandoned long ago. This is what Jung called projection. It is something for which each of us must become and remain aware. Truth is, we like people who are like us. Birds of a feather flock together and all that. Why wouldn't this be true for love? The eyes see out, and so this means our tendency is for the psyche not to see itself directly, and it's more true that we use the people around us as tableaus upon which to paint our internal energies. It can also mean that what a man cannot bear to see in himself, he'll often meet in someone else. What he cannot love in himself, a glimmer of which he will chase in another's eyes. You've got 86 billion neurons in the brain and billions more in the body. All of our cells turn over periodically by cloning themselves and leaving behind a copy. Not so much your neurons. They're highly interconnected and they hold your thoughts, feelings, and memories. This integrated nervous system of neurons is wisely survival focused. It can deny, distort, and repress inner and or outer reality to lessen anxiety and depression. It's also known as the ego. In boyhood, every man learns a form of obedience that keeps him safe. For example, no child at 2 or 3 years old reliably knows how to look both ways before crossing a road. With mostly good intentions, caregivers leverage abandonment fear to get him to comply with their directions. Hold mommy's hand or you could get run over and I'd never see you again, he hears, imagining only the horror of losing her. He's completely dependent on caregivers for life and nurturance. He soon learns what earns approval and what brings disapproval, withdrawal of attention, or even punishment. He learns when to speak and when to go silent. He mistakes validation for connection and peacekeeping for intimacy. When she hurts, he feels responsible. When she withdraws, he scrambles to fix what was never his to fix in the first place. He does not yet see that her pain has awakened his own. Let me tell you about the shadow. Every man carries within him exiled parts which he dares not show to others lest he be cast aside as unworthy and unwanted. The shadow holds all his hidden forces like anger, lust, pride, creativity, and wildness. These are not necessarily just evil forces. They are also raw vitality. They contain his potential, his possibility, and his promise, waiting for his direction. When the boy's environment punished strength or sensitivity, these instincts were pushed underground. Yet nothing buried this way truly dies. Rather, it only changes form. Shadow appears in dreams, in compulsions, in angry outbursts, and even in perversions. Without him realizing it, it can appear as in the magnetic pull towards women who embody what he cannot express himself. I call this manifestation of his shadow an attraction to a broken doll, as she acts as the mirror carrying his lost chaos. He may at first feel alive around her because she animates the part of him that has been asleep, but the more he tries to fix her, the deeper he buries himself in the wound he refuses to face. How many times have you heard from other men or even related a story yourself about a relationship gone south? Here a man will expand on her nuttiness, describing one incident or many that show her widely unstable character, explaining how at some point he'd had enough and had ended this dysfunctional struggle for his own sanity. But the sex was so good, he will say, to which the men around him will nod in immediate understanding. We've all been there. By now, you might have heard somebody say that if you don't like somebody, it's because they remind you of a part of yourself you find unacceptable. Maybe. A man who is repulsed by weakness is hiding his own. A man who chases emotional chaos is trying to awaken from his own numbness. A man who fears female rage likely represses his own rage. A man who is outraged by dishonesty shields his lies. It could be. When a woman's volatility unsettles you, ask what it exposes. When her neediness irritates you, ask what dependency you deny in yourself. The world is a mirror, not a battlefield. Most men run from that mirror. They distract themselves with work, with porn, with addictions, of performance, or preaching. They label women as the problem rather than noticing how feminine emotion reflects their own disowned inner life. The feminine within them, and with it their soul's intuitive emotional intelligence, lies neglected, while their external relationships pay the price. None of this is purely psychological, it's biological. A man's nervous system learns early what love feels like, and it confuses that feeling with safety, even if it was filled with anxiety, guilt, or neglect. Later, that familiar vibration becomes his compass. As he grows, he may not be drawn to health, but drawn to what matches his early imprint. When the nervous system is exposed to protection mode and somehow makes it through it, it becomes a template for survival to use in the future. He then feels compelled to replicate those nervous system activations in various forms going forward, to follow the physiological and psychic arousal of which he's most familiar. Though because we are run by the nervous system with conscious awareness along for the ride, and so he suffers under his own cognitive dissonance, perhaps until others pointed it out, or until his own maturation confronts him with clarity. It is only with awareness that we bring about the possibility of change. Until he learns to regulate his body, he may call this traumatic chemistry love. And so he may find himself again and again with a broken doll. The woman whose nervous system hums at the same anxious frequency as his own, their coupling feels electric, then chaotic, then cold. Both are replaying the same ancient contract: I will fix you if you love me. Integration begins when a man stops trying to save women and starts rescuing his own power. He must turn his gaze inward, not with blame, but with curiosity, and learn to sit in the discomfort of his projections until he recognizes them as reflections of himself. He does not judge himself, others, and circumstances. Rather, he discerns and simply notices without judgment, and allows his imaginative, curious, exploratory, intuitive, and creative forces time to rise. The integrated man learns to translate projection into growth. He sees that every frustration is a message from his inner shadow. Instead of judging his reflection, he studies and owns it. And this responsibility to himself is what sets him free. When his woman's emotions swell, he breathes slower. When she tests him, he does not collapse or retaliate. He steadies his breath, feels his feet, and remembers that his nervous system sets the rhythm of the home. So he stops trying to fix her and begins leading himself. The world softens around a man who has claimed his shadow. He does not fear emotion because he has met his own. He does not chase brokenness because he has repaired his inner fracture. He no longer needs to find chaos to feel alive. Carl Jung said that I feed the beggar, that I forgive an insult, that I love my enemy in the name of Christ. All these are undoubtedly great virtues. What I do unto the least of my brethren, that I do unto Christ. But what if I should discover that the least amongst them all, the poorest of all beggars, the most impudent of all offenders, yea, the very fiend himself, that these are within me, and that I myself stand in need of the alms of my own kindness, that I myself am the enemy who must be loved? What then? I'll end with something my psychology teacher taught me back in the 80s. I can tell you it saved me then, and let it save you in the same way. It was when she said to me, Christopher, everyone makes the best decisions for themselves at the time. If you could have made a better one, you would have. Oof. And from this, I understand that hindsight is an unpredictable window through which to fairly view what has already happened. Any coward can judge history. The better man accepts the past and is determined to learn from it. Be that better man. Stay powerful, true, and free.